Welcome back to our channel Rare Coins Hub. In today's video, we're going to explore something really interesting and exciting. So, if you want to find out what you'll learn by staying with us till the end, make sure to watch the whole video. Stay with us and don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get started. The year is 1964. The world is in the midst of a momentous decade, filled with cultural shifts, political turmoil, and historic events. The United States is seeing changes that will shape the future for generations to come. From the civil rights movement to the space race, the nation is on the precipice of significant transformations. But in the midst of all this, there is one constant that keeps circulating: the humble 5-cent coin. Known as the nickel, this small but essential piece of currency has been part of the American fabric for over a century. The 1964 nickel is no different, but beneath its familiar design lies a fascinating history. To fully appreciate the significance of the 1964 5-cent coin, we must first understand the context of its creation. The nickel, as we know it today, was introduced in 1938 with the iconic Jefferson design. Featuring the likeness of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, on the obverse, and his Virginia estate, Monticello, on the reverse, the Jefferson nickel replaced the Buffalo nickel. Its design, created by artist Felix Schlag, was intended to honor Jefferson's legacy and the ideals he stood for: liberty, freedom, and the pursuit of happiness. The 1964 nickel, like its predecessors, continued to feature Jefferson's profile on the obverse. However, the year 1964 was a turning point for the United States in several ways, including its coinage. In 1964, the country faced increasing costs of producing coins, especially as silver prices soared. This prompted the U.S. Mint to make changes to the metal composition of many coins, but the nickel was one that remained largely unaffected by these shifts. While the quarter and half-dollar coins were switched to a copper-nickel alloy in 1965, the nickel continued to be composed of 75% copper and 25% nickel, ensuring that it retained its familiar appearance and weight. While the minting process itself remained relatively consistent, the 1964 nickel had a unique historical backdrop. The year 1964 saw the end of an era in American coinage, as it marked the last year that silver would be used in the production of dimes, quarters, and half-dollars. This was a monumental shift, and as such, many collectors began to look more closely at coins minted during this transitional period, especially those from 1964. The nickel, though unaffected by this change, would soon become an integral part of the growing interest in coin collecting that flourished during the 1960s. As we delve into the design of the 1964 nickel, we see that it remains largely the same as the previous years. The obverse still bears the profile of Thomas Jefferson, as envisioned by Felix Schlag. Jefferson is depicted in a slightly right-facing position, his face solemn yet dignified. His hair is neatly tied in a queue, a fashion characteristic of the 18th century, reflecting Jefferson's status as a statesman and intellectual. The inscription, "Liberty," arcs across the top of the coin, a constant reminder of the ideals that shaped the nation. In addition to Jefferson's portrait, the obverse features the date of mintage, 1964, and the word, "In God We Trust," which has appeared on American coinage since the mid-19th century. These elements connect the 1964 nickel to a long tradition of U.S. coinage, one that has endured through wars, economic upheavals, and technological changes. On the reverse of the coin, we find an image of Monticello, Jefferson's beloved estate in Virginia. Monticello is depicted in striking detail, with its classical columns and symmetrical design reflecting Jefferson's appreciation for architecture and his dedication to the principles of Enlightenment thought. Beneath the image of Monticello are the words, "United States of America," and "E pluribus unum," reminding us of the nation's unity and the ideals upon which it was founded. Below Monticello, the denomination is clearly stated as 5 cents. The design of the 1964 nickel, while familiar, holds subtle significance. Jefferson's portrait and Monticello are symbols of the nation's founding and its pursuit of knowledge and liberty. The coin itself reflects the enduring principles that have guided the country for over 150 years. In 1964, these symbols resonated deeply with a nation that was navigating through a time of great change and uncertainty. As we explore the minting details of the 1964 nickel, we see that, like many coins of the era, it was produced in large quantities at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints. The Philadelphia Mint did not mark its coins with a mint mark, while coins produced in Denver were marked with a D. Collectors pay close attention to these mint marks, as they can indicate subtle differences in the production and rarity of the coins. The 1964 nickel's mintage numbers were vast, over 1.1 billion coins were struck that year. With such a large number of coins, one might think that the 1964 nickel would be common and of little value. However, as with any coin, its true worth is often determined by factors like condition, rarity, and demand among collectors. A typical 1964 nickel in circulated condition is worth just its face value, 5 cents. However, certain factors can cause its value to rise significantly. Coins that are well preserved, often referred to as mint state or uncirculated, are worth much more than their face value. For example, a 1964 nickel in pristine condition, free from wear and damage, can fetch several dollars on the market. This is because such coins are rare and highly desirable to collectors who want to add perfect specimens to their collections, but the true excitement for coin collectors comes when a coin is found with a minting error. Minting errors occur when something goes wrong during the production process, resulting in a unique coin. These errors can include off-center strikes, double dies, or die cracks. A 1964 nickel with a noticeable error can be worth far more than a typical nickel, sometimes commanding hundreds or even thousands of dollars at auctions. For example, a 1964 nickel with a double die error on the obverse or reverse could be worth much more than its standard counterpart. Such errors are rare, and collectors are willing to pay a premium for the chance to own a coin with such a unique flaw. Other types of errors, such as misaligned strikes or improperly coined coins, can also increase a 1964 nickel's value. The rarer the error, the higher the price. Now, let's talk about the big reveal: the current value of the 1964 nickel. While most 1964 nickels in circulation today are worth just 5 cents, the coin's value skyrockets when it is in excellent condition or has a minting error. In some cases, a 1964 nickel with the right error or in pristine condition can be worth up to $134,000. This is no exaggeration. The 1964 nickel has become highly sought after by collectors, particularly those who specialize in rare or error coins. The fact that the coin was minted during such a significant year in American history only adds to its appeal. Coins from 1964, especially those with unique characteristics or historical significance, have become prized items in the world of numismatics. For coin collectors, finding a 1964 nickel in mint condition or with a valuable minting error is like discovering a hidden treasure. It's a coin that offers a glimpse into the past, a piece of history that has survived for decades and is still coveted today. So, the next time you come across a 1964 nickel, take a moment to appreciate its design, history, and potential value. While it may seem like just another ordinary coin, it could be hiding something extraordinary. Whether you're a seasoned collector or a newcomer to the world of numismatics, the 1964 nickel is a coin that holds tremendous significance and potential. The year is 1979, and in the United States, the world of coins was evolving. The U.S. Mint was continuing its tradition of producing coins that were more than just currency, they were pieces of history. Among these coins, one small yet significant piece stood out: the 1979 5-cent coin, better known as the nickel. While it might seem like a humble coin at first glance, the 1979 nickel's design, minting process, and collector appeal tell a much larger story. And as we dive into the fascinating world of this 5-cent piece, you might just be surprised by how much this seemingly simple coin is worth today. To understand the 1979 nickel, we first need to explore its place in American coinage. The nickel, introduced in 1866, was a pivotal moment in U.S. history. Before it, smaller coins like the half-dime had been used, but with the rise in silver prices and the need for more durable coinage, the 5-cent piece made its debut. Initially composed of 75% copper and 25% nickel, it had a metallic sheen and weight that made it both practical and valuable as a form of everyday currency. Over the decades, the nickel's design changed to reflect the times, but by 1979, it was still bearing the familiar profile of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and a depiction of his Virginia estate, Monticello, on the reverse. As we move forward to the late 1970s, the United States was in the midst of economic challenges, with inflation on the rise and a growing sense of global uncertainty. Yet, the minting of coins like the 1979 nickel continued without much fanfare. The American public likely didn't think twice about the nickel as it clinked into their pockets. But for numismatists, the passionate collectors and historians of coins, 1979 marked the continuation of a significant chapter in the history of U.S. currency. The design of the 1979 nickel was not radically different from that of previous years, but it was still a coin that captured a moment in time. Thomas Jefferson's portrait, sculpted by artist Felix Schlag, remained as the centerpiece of the obverse side of the coin. This image, first introduced in 1938, would become one of the most recognizable faces in American coinage. Jefferson, who had served as the third President of the United States and was one of the nation's founding fathers, was forever immortalized on the nickel as a symbol of the country's ideals of liberty and democracy. On the reverse side of the 1979 nickel, Monticello stood proudly. The iconic house, designed by Jefferson himself, was not just his home, it was a symbol of the Enlightenment values that shaped the nation's founding. The reverse also displayed the inscription United States of America and 5 cents, denoting the coin's denomination. Monticello was rendered with great attention to detail, with the columns, dome, and sweeping steps all visible in their full grandeur. As a coin that circulated daily, the design of the nickel was simple, yet it held immense historical weight, while the design of the 1979 nickel was classic and unchanged from the previous years. There were subtle variations in the coin's production that caught the attention of collectors. The U.S. Mint, during this time, was operating at full capacity to produce billions of coins, including nickels. Millions of 1979 nickels were struck, yet only a few of them bore characteristics that would make them valuable to collectors. One of the key factors that determined the value of the 1979 nickel was the quality of its strike. As with any mass-produced coin, small imperfections in the minting process could result in coins with more value due to their rarity. These imperfections, or errors, could range from double strikes to off-center prints or even mismatched designs. Collectors eagerly searched for these errors, as a 1979 nickel with an off-center strike or a doubling of the date could significantly increase in value. Moreover, the 1979 nickel's condition also played a huge role in its market value. While many of the coins that entered circulation became worn and tarnished over time, there were a number that remained in pristine condition, or uncirculated. These coins were struck with sharp details and had not been exposed to the rigors of daily transactions. For collectors, an uncirculated 1979 nickel was a prized possession, and it often fetched prices far above its face value, but it wasn't just errors or uncirculated coins that caught the eye of collectors. The historical context of the 1979 nickel added another layer of intrigue. By this time, the coin was more than just a nickel, it was a window into a specific period in U.S. history. The late 1970s were marked by political tension, economic challenges, and a nation struggling to maintain its post-World War II optimism. The 1979 nickel symbolized the endurance of American coinage. Even in times of uncertainty, the nickel's appeal, both as a circulating coin and as a collectible, only grew as the years went by. By the time the 1980s rolled around, collectors had begun to take a deeper interest in coins from the 1970s. The 1979 nickel, in particular, stood out due to its design and its significance in the broader narrative of U.S. currency. While it may not have been a rare or unique coin at first glance, its status as a historical artifact, combined with the potential for minting errors, made it highly sought after by numismatists. As we approach the present day, the value of the 1979 nickel has continued to rise, driven by both the coin's historical importance and the demand for high-quality specimens. So, what is the current value of the 1979 nickel? While a typical 1979 nickel in circulated condition may still be worth just 5 cents, coins in uncirculated or mint condition can command much higher prices. Coins that have been well preserved and that show little to no signs of wear can be worth anywhere from $1 to $5. However, the true value of a 1979 nickel lies in its rarity. Coins with notable errors, such as off-center strikes, doubled lettering, or misaligned dies, are especially prized by collectors. These unique varieties have been known to fetch anywhere from $50 to several $100s, depending on their condition and the specific error they exhibit. And then, there's the big surprise: certain rare 1979 nickels, particularly those in mint-perfect condition or with rare minting errors, have been known to fetch astronomical prices at auction. Some of these rare specimens have been sold for as much as $124,000, a truly incredible amount for a coin that was once part of the everyday currency used by millions of Americans. This surge in value is a testament to the enduring allure of numismatics, as collectors and investors alike vie for the chance to own a piece of U.S. history that may never come around again. In conclusion, the 1979 U.S. 5-cent coin may seem like an ordinary piece of currency, but it holds a wealth of history and value for those who are willing to dig a little deeper. From its design featuring the iconic portrait of Thomas Jefferson to its place in the larger narrative of U.S. coinage, the 1979 nickel is a fascinating piece of American history. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just beginning your journey into the world of numismatics, the 1979 nickel offers a wealth of stories and surprises, culminating in its incredible value in today's market. The year is 1983, and the United States is in the midst of a rapidly changing era. The nation is witnessing economic recovery, technological innovation, and social transformations that will set the stage for the future. In the midst of all these changes, one seemingly unremarkable object continues to circulate through the pockets and purses of everyday Americans: the 5-cent coin, also known as the nickel. While the 1983 nickel may seem like just another routine coin, its history, design, and appeal to collectors tell a far more compelling story, one that reveals why this coin is still highly valued today. To truly understand the significance of the 1983 nickel, we first need to take a step back and look at the history of the U.S. 5-cent coin. Introduced in 1866, the nickel was a part of the United States' efforts to create a consistent and practical currency system. Before the nickel, the U.S. Mint primarily relied on larger silver coins like the half-dime, which was quickly phased out due to rising silver prices. The 5-cent coin was initially made of 75% copper and 25% nickel, a metal combination that gave it its characteristic silver-like appearance. By the time 1983 rolled around, the design of the nickel had undergone several significant changes, with the most notable being the long-standing Jefferson design. First introduced in 1938, the Jefferson nickel featured a portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, on the obverse, and a representation of his Virginia estate, Monticello, on the reverse. This design would remain largely unchanged for decades, representing both the ideals of the American Revolution and the personal legacy of one of the country's most revered founding fathers. In 1983, the design of the nickel, like that of most other coins, continued to honor Jefferson's legacy. However, the year also marked an important moment in the history of U.S. coinage. In response to rising costs and changes in metal availability, the U.S. Mint began experimenting with alternative materials for its coinage. The nickel, however, remained made of the traditional 75% copper and 25% nickel alloy, a mixture that had been the standard since the coin's inception. Unlike other coins, such as the penny, which had seen changes in composition due to metal shortages, the nickel continued to be produced using this familiar and durable metal blend. The 1983 nickel's design featured the well-known portrait of Thomas Jefferson, but with a subtle difference in the way the portrait was rendered. Over the years, artist Felix Schlag's original design had been modified to more accurately depict Jefferson, particularly in the facial features and the positioning of his head. Jefferson's profile remained dignified and stoic, his right-facing image a reminder of the nation's founding ideals. The inscription, Liberty, ran across the top of the obverse, with, "In God We Trust," prominently displayed just beneath Jefferson's portrait, further reinforcing the country's founding principles. On the reverse side, the coin continued to feature an image of Monticello, Jefferson's beloved plantation home. Monticello's depiction was meticulous, capturing the symmetrical columns and classical architectural style that Jefferson had admired. Beneath this image, the words, "United States of America," and the national motto, "E pluribus unum," appeared. The denomination of 5 cents was also clearly marked, ensuring the coin's value was easily understood, while the design of the 1983 nickel was consistent with the long-standing Jeffersonian tradition. There was something about this particular year that made it unique. Coin collectors and numismatists often focus on specific years or types of coins because of rare features, minting errors, or other special attributes. In the case of the 1983 nickel, collectors began to take notice of slight variations in the minting process, especially with respect to the coin's quality and condition. One of the key factors that affected the 1983 nickel's value was the quality control processes at the U.S. Mint. Although millions of coins are struck each year, only a small percentage of these coins are produced with flawless, or near-flawless, characteristics. The 1983 nickel, like all coins, was subject to the usual wear and tear of mass production. But those that were struck with particular attention to detail, or those that survived the years in excellent condition, started to gain attention from collectors. While most circulated 1983 nickels are worth just 5 cents, those that are in uncirculated or near-mint condition can be worth considerably more. An uncirculated 1983 nickel, with its sharp details, fresh luster, and minimal wear, can command a premium, sometimes reaching several dollars at auction. The appeal of the 1983 nickel lies not only in its historical significance but also in its rarity. The more pristine a coin is, the more valuable it becomes in the eyes of collectors. Coins from the 1980s in excellent condition are highly sought after because they represent a period in American history that is often overlooked but rich in cultural and historical events. As we look closer at the minting details, we see that the U.S. Mint produced the 1983 nickel in 2 locations, the Philadelphia Mint and the Denver Mint. Coins struck at the Philadelphia Mint do not bear a mint mark, while those produced in Denver feature a D mint mark. Both versions of the coin were produced in large numbers, with over 1,001,983 nickels minted in total. However, as with all coins, certain varieties can carry more value due to specific features. For instance, certain 1983 nickels might have been struck with small differences in the die or the minting process, leading to minor errors that make them more valuable. Collectors look for these subtle variations in order to determine whether a coin could be worth more than its face value. A 1983 nickel with an off-center strike or a doubling of the date can attract significant interest. The rarity of such errors adds to the allure of the coin, especially among advanced collectors who are looking to complete their sets of error coins. The market for the 1983 nickel, like many other coins from this period, is particularly strong among people who are just starting their coin collecting journey. Coins from the 1980s are a natural point of entry for collectors because they are relatively affordable compared to older coins, yet still possess historical significance. A 1983 nickel in pristine condition may not break the bank, but it is still a tangible piece of the American story, a moment in time captured in metal. Now, let's talk about the big reveal: the value of a 1983 nickel in today's market. While most 1983 nickels in circulated condition are worth just their face value of 5 cents, certain variations of this coin can fetch significantly higher prices. A 1983 nickel in uncirculated condition can easily command $1 to $5. However, when a coin has a minting error or other distinguishing features, the value can skyrocket. In some cases, a 1983 nickel has been known to sell for as much as $118,000 at auction, an extraordinary amount for a coin that was once part of everyday currency. This dramatic increase in value can be attributed to the rarity of high-quality, error-free, or error coins and the growing demand for these pieces in the numismatic community. As the years go by, the number of pristine 1983 nickels continues to dwindle, making those that remain in mint condition even more valuable. Collectors are constantly on the lookout for these rare finds, and they are willing to pay top dollar to add a significant piece to their collections. In conclusion, the 1983 US 5-cent coin, though often overlooked in the grand scheme of coinage, holds a remarkable story. Its design, featuring the timeless image of Thomas Jefferson in his Monticello estate, reflects the ideals of a nation that was evolving rapidly in the 20th century. As we've seen, the minting details and small variations in quality and errors make this coin highly collectible. From the minting process to the lasting appeal among numismatists, the 1983 nickel proves that even the most ordinary-seeming coins can have extraordinary value, making it an exciting part of any coin collection. In the year 1988, the United States was in a time of economic prosperity and cultural shifts. The 1980s marked an era of significant change in the country, with advancements in technology, music, and global politics. Yet, amidst these changes, everyday currency remained a constant. Among the coins circulating at the time, the 1988 US 5-cent coin, better known as the nickel, was just another piece of pocket change for most Americans. However, what might seem like a humble coin to the casual observer was actually a fascinating link to history, design, and numismatic value. To understand the significance of the 1988 nickel, we first need to take a look at the history of the 5-cent coin itself. The nickel had been a part of American coinage since 1866, making it one of the longest-standing coins in the United States. The design of the nickel had undergone changes throughout the years, reflecting different eras in U.S. history, but by 1988, the coin had settled into a familiar pattern. It featured the portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and an image of Jefferson's Virginia estate, Monticello, on the reverse. These elements had been in place since 1938, thanks to the design work of Felix Schlag, and they had become iconic symbols of the nation's past and its enduring values. For those unfamiliar with the design, the obverse of the 1988 nickel featured the left-facing bust of Thomas Jefferson, one of the founding fathers of the United States and the nation's third president. Jefferson, whose contributions to American history are immense, was immortalized on the nickel in a dignified and regal pose. His sharp features, his eyes filled with wisdom and resolve, stand as a reminder of the Enlightenment ideals that shaped the American Revolution and the founding of the nation. The reverse of the 1988 nickel showed a depiction of Jefferson's plantation home, Monticello. Built by Jefferson himself, Monticello symbolized his commitment to the principles of architecture, design, and education. This image of Monticello, with its neoclassical columns and sweeping lawns, became one of the most recognizable structures in America, representing both Jefferson's legacy and the values he upheld. But what makes the 1988 nickel so fascinating isn't just its design or its historical significance. It's also the way it was minted and how it fits into the broader context of U.S. coinage. By 1988, the U.S. Mint had been producing nickels for more than a century, and the process had become highly refined. The minting of coins was a precise operation, with quality control measures in place to ensure that each coin was struck to perfection. However, like any mass-produced item, there were always subtle variations that made some coins more valuable than others. These variations could come in the form of minor errors, like double strikes, misaligned dies, or other minting irregularities that collectors eagerly sought after. In the case of the 1988 nickel, there were no major design changes, but certain minting errors did occur. For example, some 1988 nickels were struck with a slight off-center image, making them particularly attractive to collectors who specialized in error coins. These minor imperfections would often lead to significant premiums being added to the value of the coin, especially when the errors were rare or the condition of the coin was near mint. While most of the 1988 nickels were produced in large quantities and circulated widely, those that were struck with these kinds of imperfections would later be sought after by numismatists. In addition to these minting errors, another factor that influenced the value of the 1988 nickel was its overall condition. As is the case with any coin, the preservation of the coin plays a critical role in its market value. Coins that had been preserved in pristine, uncirculated condition were often worth more than those that had been passed from hand to hand and subjected to the wear and tear of everyday use. An uncirculated 1988 nickel, with its sharp details and lustrous finish, could command a premium price among collectors who prized coins in flawless condition, but it wasn't just the minting errors or pristine examples of the 1988 nickel that interested collectors. The coin's design and the historical context in which it was produced also played a role in its appeal. By 1988, the U.S. Mint had produced billions of these coins, but the 1988 nickel represented a unique snapshot of the country's economic state. The 1980s were a time of great political change under President Ronald Reagan, and the coin, though small and humble, reflected the stability and growth that the nation was experiencing at the time. The design of the 1988 nickel remained consistent with earlier coins, maintaining its connection to the nation's past. But for collectors, the continuity of the design, as well as the coin's place in the broader history of U.S. coinage, made it a valuable piece to own. While the coin itself may have seemed ordinary to many, it was nonetheless a product of decades of design evolution and minting tradition. Now, let's fast forward to the present day. You might be wondering, what is the value of a 1988 nickel today? And while the face value of the coin remains just 5 cents, the story is much more interesting for collectors and investors. Like many other coins in the U.S. Mint's long history, certain examples of the 1988 nickel have appreciated in value over time. Coins in pristine, uncirculated condition can be worth several dollars, while those with rare minting errors can fetch even higher prices at auctions and private sales. But the most impressive aspect of the 1988 nickel is its potential for dramatic appreciation. The value of a particular coin can vary greatly depending on its condition, rarity, and the presence of minting errors. Some 1988 nickels, particularly those with off-center strikes or double dies, have been known to sell for hundreds of dollars, with certain specimens reaching over $1,000. The true surprise, however, comes when we look at the rarest of the rare. Certain 1,988 nickels in exceptional condition or with rare errors have sold for prices approaching $108,000, a truly astonishing figure for a coin that once circulated as common currency. So, while the 1988 nickel might seem like just another coin from a bygone era, it holds a wealth of value for those who understand the intricacies of numismatics. What was once just a piece of everyday currency has become a rare and valuable collector's item. Its historical significance, its enduring design, and its potential for finding rare minting errors make it a coin worth holding on to, especially for collectors who are looking for the next great find. In conclusion, the 1988 US 5-cent coin is a remarkable piece of American history. It's more than just a nickel, it's a symbol of a specific time and place, a testament to the enduring legacy of Thomas Jefferson, and a valuable artifact for collectors. Whether you're a seasoned numismatist or a casual collector, the 1988 nickel offers a fascinating glimpse into the world of coinage, and who knows, you might just have one of these rare, valuable pieces hidden away in your collection. It's a small coin, but it holds big surprises. In the year 1990, the United States was living through a period of transition. The world was slowly moving past the Cold War era, with technological advancements reshaping global industries and economies. At the same time, the American public was witnessing the rise of the digital age, with personal computers and mobile phones beginning to infiltrate households. Yet, amidst these vast cultural and economic shifts, one thing remained unchanged: the United States currency. Among the coins circulating in the United States in 1990, the 5-cent coin, commonly referred to as the nickel, stood as a steady representation of the nation's heritage. To many, the nickel was just another piece of change that was handled in transactions every day. But for numismatists, collectors, and history buffs, the 1990 nickel held an important place in the legacy of American coinage. To understand why the 1990 nickel is a coin that sparks interest among collectors, it's crucial to take a closer look at its historical significance. The 5-cent coin has a long and storied history, dating back to 1866 when the first nickel was issued. Its journey through American history mirrors the changes the nation has undergone, from wars and economic depressions to technological revolutions and cultural shifts. By the time the 1990 nickel came into circulation, the coin had already gone through several design changes and phases, with the basic design of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and Monticello, his plantation home, on the reverse. The 1990 nickel was no exception to this design. For over 50 years, the nickel had featured Jefferson's likeness on the front side, with a profile image of the third President of the United States looking leftward. Behind him, on the reverse, was the iconic image of Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia estate. The simplicity and elegance of these images had made the 1938 design, created by Felix Schlag, the standard for the U.S. 5-cent coin, and it would continue to be used for several more decades. At the time, the 1990 nickel represented a new era of American prosperity and stability, following the end of the Reagan era and the dawn of the George H.W. Bush presidency. The United States was slowly recovering from the economic recession of the late 1980s, and the coin's design was a symbol of continuity amidst an ever-changing world. But even in the midst of this stability, changes in minting technology and new methods of coin production had begun to influence the creation of the nickel, adding a new layer of interest for collectors who closely monitored the evolution of U.S. currency. The design of the 1990 nickel, like those from prior years, included a few important elements that spoke to the lasting legacy of the coin. On the obverse, the image of Thomas Jefferson had a stately presence. His hair was neatly styled, and the overall image projected an aura of wisdom and patriotism. This bust, which was based on a painting of Jefferson by artist Rembrandt Peale, had been used for decades, making the coin instantly recognizable. Jefferson's legacy, which included the drafting of the Declaration of Independence, his presidency during the Louisiana Purchase, and his promotion of individual freedoms, was etched into the very face of the coin. The reverse of the 1990 nickel continued to display Monticello, Jefferson's neoclassical mansion. This side of the coin was a tribute to Jefferson's architectural genius and his vision for an agrarian republic. Monticello, with its distinct rotunda and symmetrical design, represented the ideals of the Founding Fathers and their vision for America's future. The architecture of Monticello was also a symbol of Jefferson's personal style, a reflection of both his intellectual and practical pursuits. It was a design that had been loved by many since its introduction in 1938, and in 1990, it continued to serve as a visual representation of America's early days. But let's talk about the minting process for the 1990 nickel and how the coins were produced. The U.S. Mint, which operates at several locations across the country, had been producing coins with precision for more than 200 years by the time 1990 rolled around. At the time, the minting of nickels was carried out at the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints, with the Philadelphia Mint serving as the main production center for the 5-cent coin. The minting of the 1990 nickel involved several stages, including the preparation of the dies, the melting of the metal, and the striking of the coins. The metal composition of the 1990 nickel was important to understand as well. Unlike earlier versions of the coin, which were made from a solid composition of nickel, the 1990 coin was produced from a mixture of copper and nickel, making it a more cost-effective choice for production. The resulting coin was durable and resistant to wear, which allowed it to circulate for long periods without losing its shape or detail. The weight of the 1990 nickel was set at 5 grams, and its diameter was just under 21 millimeters, slightly larger than a penny but still small enough to be easily carried in your pocket. As with any year of coinage, there were always certain details that collectors kept an eye on. For the 1990 nickel, collectors and numismatists looked at the quality of the strike, the sharpness of the details, and any subtle variations that might make one coin more valuable than another. The 1990 nickel, while not known for having any major design changes or errors, did have some subtle variations in terms of strike quality and the positioning of the dies. These minute differences, while often hard to spot, could make a significant impact on a coin's value over time. While the 1990 nickel was not produced in limited numbers, certain variations and errors made it an attractive coin for collectors. For instance, there were instances where the minting process resulted in slight misalignments of the dies, causing some coins to have double strikes or other variations. These types of errors could dramatically increase the value of a coin, as collectors prized them for their rarity and uniqueness. The 1990 nickel also held significant appeal for those interested in completing sets of U.S. coins. Coin collectors often strive to gather a complete collection of every annual issue of each coin denomination, and the 1990 nickel was no exception. Its place in the larger context of U.S. coinage made it an important piece for those looking to complete their collection, and its relatively low circulation numbers compared to other coins also made it a desirable addition. As we fast forward to the present day, it's fascinating to look at the value of the 1990 nickel. While it's not the most valuable coin in the world of U.S. currency, the 1990 nickel has found its place in the hearts of collectors and investors alike. Most of the 1990 nickels in circulation today are worth their face value of 5 cents, but certain rare examples have seen impressive appreciation in value. The most valuable 1990 nickels are those that are in pristine, uncirculated condition or feature notable minting errors. A 1990 nickel that has been preserved in flawless condition and has maintained its original shine and detail can be worth several dollars. Coins with minting errors, such as double strikes, off-center strikes, or other variations, can fetch hundreds of dollars at auction. And, believe it or not, there are some 1990 nickels that have sold for amounts approaching $102,000, an astonishing price for a coin that started its life as just 5 cents in circulation. These rare coins, whether they are in perfect condition or contain unique errors, have become sought-after collectibles. The value of a 1990 nickel, like any coin, depends on its rarity, condition, and collector demand. Over time, as fewer of these coins remain in circulation and collectors become more aware of their potential value, the price of these rare nickels has continued to climb. In conclusion, the 1990 US 5-cent coin, while seemingly just another piece of pocket change, holds a wealth of historical and numismatic significance. From its design, which honored Thomas Jefferson in his vision for the United States, to the minting process that ensured its durability and longevity, the 1990 nickel represents more than just its monetary value. For collectors, it's a piece of American history, and for investors, it's a coin that could potentially yield surprising returns. The 1990 nickel serves as a reminder that the value of a coin isn't always in its face value. Sometimes, it's the rare coins, the ones that escaped the attention of the masses or bore the marks of unique minting errors, that are worth far more than one might expect. The 1990 nickel may have started out as a simple coin, but for those in the know, it has become a rare treasure worth preserving, and perhaps even cashing in on.